Welcome, everyone. Hello again, for those who've been here before. Some familiar faces. And as previously, who have been here before, please rename yourself for today. I heard a new phrase today, happy time of day to the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. The UK is 2 hours back from me, so that must be 3 o'clock. Welcome. Please rename yourself. Very important, especially today. Are you a vendor, a DREP, a committee member? Use the 3 buttons on the top right of your picture, and then it should be the last menu, rename. Welcome. Hello again, Adam, Dave, Tex, Chris, Kevin, Agos, familiar faces. Yes, thank you, DREPs, for renaming yourself. I'm so happy to see DREPs coming in. We need you more than ever. Hello, everyone. Hi, Kevin. Marek, Giorgio, hello. Thanks for calling in. And Mihal is coming in there. Johnny, hello. Please rename yourself. Very important today. And I'm giving it a few more minutes until everyone is settled in. Please rename yourself. I know I'm going to repeat myself a lot today. Apologies in advance. All right. Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Everyone, please rename yourself. My name is Britta Wolfekammer. You might hopefully have seen me in some of the previous workshops. I am from Voltage Control, facilitating the reconciliation workshop today, together with my team. And you can recognize us by the VC behind our names. I'm here with Katerina, who you've seen in the other workshop, Eric, Chris, Susan, I've seen Aaron, Shari, Dirk, yes, and Paula. Thank you. Thank you for calling in, and thanks for renaming yourself. This is the second day of the reconciliation workshop. The purpose today is, like as yesterday, to go through the proposals category by category. Today we have core, research, and no category. And then for the DREPs to raise any issues so we can prioritize anything that goes into the consideration for the budget. And then tomorrow we have a cross category conversation. And I would now like to ask Danielle if you're ready to have a short presentation before we move on.
Yep, happy to do a quick introduction. Getting my screen up. So thanks everybody for joining and taking the time out of your weekend to be here with us and for all the hard work I know many of you put in getting to this point. I just wanted to clarify a few things related to the process and how things move forward. So in terms of the process itself, there is more information at the link to the right if you haven't read that before in terms of how the process flows. But basically, this stage is reconciliation. That then turns into a budget info action or multiple budget info actions, and then later treasury withdrawals flow through that. And this process is how the DREPs actually determine how much they would like to spend out of the treasury for 2025. So the net change limit did pass on chain this week at 350 million ADA for the 2025 year. And so that doesn't mean we have to spend that much. That means it's time for the DREPs to look in the proposals and determine through the budget process, like through deciding which ones go into the budget, how much we actually do spend. So just kind of a reminder there. The workshops, so you're joining this workshop, are for discussion and clarifications and kind of gathering any sort of consensus that DREPs may be starting to have around proposals and topics. And then there's something called the Ecclesia polling tool. So this is new and just launched live today for this process. That's where the decision making will be happening. And that decision making is consensus around which proposals the DREPs want to go into the budget info action. We're running 2 reconciliation cycles. This is the first one, where once one cycle completes, that results in a budget info action that pulls together what has consensus to move forward. We'll run the cycle again with proposals that don't make it in the first round to make sure that if there's any others that needed further deliberation or time or consideration, they've got a second chance next weekend to be reviewed again in a reconciliation cycle. For today, DREPs are asked to bring topics to the floor for discussion, and then vendors and subject matter experts and committee members are here to support with information, answering questions and corrections as needed during the discussion. So voltage control team will explain exactly how that will work in more detail. So the Ecclesia polling tool, we've got several links here. I will share a version of this presentation in the chat after I'm done. The tool itself is at the top, 2025 budget.intersectmbo.org. And then we have 2 places. If you find a bug or have an issue with it going down or anything like that, please put it there. We have an active team monitoring that to make sure issues are resolved as they can be. Huge shout out to Adam Dean and Matt Orchestra. They have had an extremely tight timeline to deliver it, and they've done an exceptional job getting this delivered. So thank you to them for their hard work getting us here. And just a note that it's an MVP. So this is the first version of a tool to be a flexible on-chain voting tool for the ecosystem using Cardano, moving forward other budget process and beyond budget processes. So expect that it might not be perfect, but I think it will do the job. And also what you'll see in there is a ballot that imported all proposals that were submitted into GovTool by 5 p.m. UTC on April 24th. So that's what we're asking DREPs to poll on is for these proposals, which ones do you think should go into a budget info action? And if other decision points come up throughout the workshop process, they can be added to that polling tool as well. Also, a shout out to the GovTools team for delivering that budget proposal page in GovTool. They also had a very short timeline to do so, and that was critical for us to be able to gather community sentiment and allow those proposals to be submitted to get us to this point. So couldn't have done it without them either. Next is a few details about the Intersect budget info action. So essentially, this is reconciliation to assemble a budget info action. So how does that look? So Intersect will create a budget info action to package together proposals that receive consensus in the voting tool. And that tool will be running asynchronously throughout this weekend. There will be 2 major polling deadlines, one about 5 hours before the final workshop. So that will be on April 28th, depending on your time zone, maybe 27th. And that is the first cut of which proposals go in or out of the budget info action. And then we may have a second poll on April 28th as a result of reconciliation discussions looking across. All of those that made it in are their final decisions of ones that we need to remove to be within the net change limit or reconcile between competing proposals that both made it in, for example. Proposals as a recommendation from the Cardano Budget Committee that received more than 50% approval from those who vote by stake will be what makes it into the final day of reconciliation. And the other thing is that proposals that did not select Intersect as the administrator will not be included in Intersect's budget info action. That does not mean that there will be no other budget info actions. We are aware of at least one other in the ecosystem planning to submit a budget info action. And so if you did not select Intersect as your administrator, that doesn't preclude you from becoming part of a different budget info action. Also, if you're a vendor who selected, no, I don't want Intersect to be my administrator when you submitted your proposal because you needed more information, do reach out to Intersect and have that discussion with them, because you still have a chance to get into their budget info action if you decide that's suitable for you. And then finally, we will be opening up each topic discussion with some sentiment analysis from GovTools. So I just want to explain how that was done and what it means. So first of all, what it means, it is informational only. It is a sentiment analysis of GovTools to kind of put the information in an analyzed way in one place, and you can cut it and slice it in several ways. So that does not determine what goes in or out of the budget info action. It is for informational purposes. The Ecclesia voting tool, just to reinforce, is where those decisions will be made. The prioritization method used was a combination of DREP polling, DREP comments, committee comments, and then community comments. So if you say, the polling doesn't, I got a lower score than I would have hoped, and my polling looked good, it's taking into consideration more than just the polling on GovTools. It's also comments that were in there. And the other thing we've done is flagged where a DREP or committee member suggested that Catalyst may be an appropriate funding avenue, more so than the Treasury itself. And then we've also shown the self-reported roadmap alignment for some of these items. So with that, if you have follow-up questions, please drop them in the chat. We will do our best to answer them. I'll put a copy of this file in the chat, and back over to you, Britta.
Thank you so much, Danielle. And for those joining recently, please rename yourself. Dave has also put the link in the chat for the official on-chain voting tool guide. And we're waiting for Danielle's link to her presentation. And while we're doing that, I also want to acknowledge that we have people in the room from Argentina, Ghana, Hong Kong, all the way to New Zealand. Isn't that fantastic? And I think that's a good time to remind yourself there is an option for translations or the transcript translations. And I'm going to put the English version in the chat, how to activate translations right now. There will be a lot of instructions in the chat before we deep dive. So this is for anyone who wants to have their captions in their own language. And this is the description how you do it. I have that same thing in Japanese, but I have not seen any Japanese participants yet. So if there is a need for the Japanese version of how to turn it on, let me know. And
yeah, please just drop it in.
Okay, just a second. All right, there you go. And so there's a question from Garrett, any way to do live multilingual translation? Unfortunately, that's not, we don't have that active. So it's only the transcript, the captions, I mean. All right. So with that, I'm going to continue before we dive into, now that we've heard the process and the goals, just a repetition for those who've joined late. Today, we're going to tackle the categories: core, research, and no category, and going through the pitches and any themes or questions surfaced by DREPs. Before we go there, I would like to reinforce our ground rules concerning how we're going to collaborate together today. There is Be Here Now. Please turn off any notification calls so that you can be fully present in the content today. Trust the process. Some things may be awkward and new to you. We invite you to be curious and open instead of judging the process. Please be curious and open to what's there to come. Listen to understand. Often we want to persuade and convince, but rather than doing that, please sit back and listen to understand with an open mind. move back and move in. This is to hear as many perspectives as possible. If you want to voice yourself, that's totally okay, but also give room to others to express their opinions. And lastly, seek progress over perfection. We want to move forward, and that means it's better to not dig into the tiny details, seek progress over perfection. And with that, I think my colleague has put those rules in the chat. I am now going to explain the process before we go into the category number 1. The process, how we're going to discuss issues today. First, you will get an introduction to the category and also the proposals that are at stake to be discussed in that category. Then we are going to invite DREPs to put their one-sentence issue or topic into the chat. Please make sure you name it, new topic. I'm going to have my colleagues in the backend send another instruction how to name it. It's very important that we, first of all, rename ourselves so that DREPs are visible, and then make sure you label your question properly so we know where to edit. And there it is. That's how you label your topics. So the first process is for DREPs to issue and voice their issues in the chat. Then after we've received your themes and issues that you want to discuss, we invite DREPs to vote on those issues. Only those issues who are seconded by another DREP will make the discussion floor. And that is step number 3. Once we've seen an issue has been seconded, we will invite you to present your issues. You have 2 minutes and then a 5-minute discussion. A lot of processes. Are we okay and in agreement how we're going to work together today? Give me a thumbs up, please. All right. Good. And with that, we are moving into our first category. And I am inviting Chris to see if Chris is ready.
Hi, good morning, good day, everybody. Thank you for joining. We're starting off with the first category, core. So we have a table that has captured the sentiment from the Gov tool, and we have extracted the core part here. They're tied into 10 proposals each. We're going to go 10 by 10. We did the sorting approximately by the category and sentiment. And let's start with the first 10. The first we have 2025 Input-Output Engineering Core Development Proposal for 96 million ADA. Following Cardano Maintenance and Roadmap Delivery Proposal, Secure ADA Network Infrastructure for entire Cardano community with 82 million ADA. Then we have Twig's proposal for multiple core budget proposal for Cardano 2025, 11 million ADA. Liquid, a fully open source Cardano public good for 7.2 million ADA. OSC budget proposal, paid open source model for sustainable development, 5.8 million ADA. Cardano Vigil ADA, a multi-layer ML framework for real-time on-chain anomaly detection and agentic analysis, 2.9 million ADA. Terminal maintenance, a little bit shy of 600K ADA. Andamio, powering contributor readiness across Cardano projects for 300K ADA. Cardano cross-chain interoperability protocol integration, 200K ADA. And deploy export on-chain cross-chain data transfer protocol to Cardano for 617K ADA. Now we are waiting for the topics to emerge in the chat and the reps to second it so we can have a discussion on these 10 submissions.
Yes, I'm handing over to Katarina to lead this topic discussion.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Britta. So as mentioned, right, topics can be proposed only by DREPs and seconded only by DREPs, although anyone can join in the actual discussion. I'm also going to put just some broader framings in the chat for you all to keep in mind as you think about what topics you might want to bring up. Doesn't mean that it has to fit neatly into one of these three questions. These are just to prompt your reflections, right? So maybe think about, are there any proposals that are critical that must absolutely pass that you still need to discuss? Any big concerns that you need to surface around those proposals that are critical? Are there any overlaps or conflicts between proposals that we should be talking about? And are there any specific changes to a proposal that you would want to see in order for you to be able to say that this can pass? So again, just some general reflections. And as Chris said, we're going to focus on the first 10 on the spreadsheet first. And that's how we'll be moving throughout our discussion for the core category is 10 by 10. So Agus, I believe, has just put in chat. I'm not sure if that's a new topic. If so, just a reminder to put new topic before your proposed topic so that everyone can identify whether it's something that needs to be looked at for seconding. So far, no topics in chat yet. Unless Agus, was yours a new topic? Just want to clarify for the audience in case they should be taking a look. All right, so we've got a new topic from Philip in chat. Okay, I guess gotcha. Thanks so much for clarifying that a topic. Just pointed the overlap. And it's also been seconded by Merrick. So Phil, why don't you come off mute? I will put 2 minutes on the timer for you to give us broader framing on your topic, and then we will dive into 5 minutes of discussion.
Yeah, this should be very brief. I mean, the question is how can 200K ADA meaningfully contribute to cross-chain interoperability? I don't think, like, very few things can be built with 200K ADA. And with this amount, right, it might be reasonable to consider Catalyst.
All right, so I'll start the 5 minutes of discussion time. If anyone would like to respond to Phil or pose a further question around that topic. All right, so hearing no points of discussion, just want to raise for the larger Intersect team Garrett's question, if these are all proposals. Hold on, the chat's moving around. Oh, yep, there you go. Thanks, Danielle. Appreciate it. We got a few more process questions for the team to take a look at. Now, I will say there's quite a bit of chatter going on in chat that I think is taking up a lot of people's attention. So if that is a topic that needs to be discussed and a DREP would like to discuss it, please put forward. Or else I'd like to encourage folks to also put focus on posing any other topics for seconding.
Wait, so is there no representative for this proposal, this Cardano cross-chain interoperability?
Yeah, for your question, Phil, it's a great question. We haven't seen anyone come off mute or type a chat in response to your topic. Anyone on the call for Cardano cross-chain interoperability protocol integration? I guess not, Philip. Right. Any other topics on these first 10 proposals that any DREPs would like to elevate? We have a new topic for your consideration from Nana in the chat. Is there a second for that topic? Yes, there is. Awesome. So Nana, why don't you come off mute and I will put 2 minutes on the timer.
Sure. Thanks, Buddha. Yeah, so I'm asking because we all know there's been sort of a quote and unquote battle between the input output proposal and also the TSC proposal. A lot of things sort of overlap. And so the discussion really is, if you look at what is happening on gas right now, or even as and when you guys did a snapshot, you realize that the IOG proposal seems to have accumulated a lot of support by the community or from the community as opposed to the TSC. So I'm wondering, TSC offering sort of opening up the vendoring process to the community. Are you willing to, integrate that particular process into their proposal if the community or the DRFs approve of it? And I'm asking because I realize that a lot of the TSC members are also somehow part of the input output team itself. So if there are any IO members here who would want to clarify that, I think that would be very useful for me to make my final decision as to where to put my vote. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So I'm gonna put 5 minutes for discussion.
Yeah. So thank you. I think I'll start with that one. We've heard quite a bit of discussion on this topic over the past 2 or 3 weeks on Twitter. Just the other day in our Cardano forum blog, as well as what you've heard from Charles Hoskinson, if you've listened to his AMA and on his X Spaces, IOE has no intention and will not participate in the TSC's RFP process. We've tried to collaborate with other suppliers in CDEC, all known suppliers, many of our long-standing partners who built Cardano. We never built this alone, and we've made many calls to Intersect, the TSC, and to the budget committee. Those calls went either unanswered or ignored, and so we were completely blindsided by their proposal. And so at this point, we do not plan to participate at all.
So let me give an answer both from the IOE and the TSE perspective. Maybe Neil, I see you've got your hand raised. Do you want to take that?
I was going to, you start, Kevin. I was going to pick up some of this because there has been a lot of misinformation going on, and I must admit, if I'll let you start, and then I will pick it up. How's that, Kevin? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not aware of any direct representations made to the TSC, Dave. So apologies if we've missed that, but that's not been passed on to us. So I'm not sure.
Can I point out that the secretary of the TSC has just pointed out that they were never approached? Okay.
Okay.
So okay.
There is obviously a communication issue here. I'm happy to take that up, of course, and it should be easy to do. So then in terms of the process that will be followed, the TSC has put forward a particular process, partly as an option in case this budget process fails to terminate. There's a risk of doing that, but the TSC is absolutely willing to be pragmatic as we move from the current state into the interim, through the interim delivery state that we're approaching now. So where there is only one clear vendor, I think, Neil, you've said that an alternative process to an RFP might be more appropriate. So perhaps you'd like to fill in on that, just to get the position straight.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, I think we have in the TSC the processes were discussed from November through to have been discussed since November. IOE, the general manager of IOE, was present for many of these because those were meetings at which he was an observer. So the whole topics and general processes by which we would engage in letting the arrangements was discussed, and it was very clear that we made it very clear that in the long term, it would be lovely to have a position where an RFP process would occur, but in the short term, that was stupid because actually there wasn't any vendor. So I've no idea where this process came up, especially as as I said, the IOE general manager was present in most of these meetings. So I think that's the first part. So there is no intention to force an RFP process on anyone at this point. What there is an intention to try and do is to create a more vibrant ecosystem for some of the small things that are not that might be useful by something like bidding by lots, creating processes which actually are open and fair, whereas well, that's what we've got to do: make everything open as far as we can. Does that start to solve that point for the person who asked the question?
Yeah, and I'd like to make some comments afterwards.
Okay. So that's the first one. What was the other point? We also, by the way, we've also asked. No, I think so. I think the point is that the TSC wanted to create a process which aligned with the Constitution, whereby people would get audited, and I mean, we're talking project audits here, nothing more than how would I describe this? It's more like the accounting equivalent of a predicate being run under a homomorphic encryption, i.e., where an accountant goes in under NDA and checks that the rules have been followed. Nothing else leaks out. That's what we mean by an audit in this process. And fiscal reporting, by which we can ensure that and evidence to the community that, for example, no double dipping has occurred and is equivalent, right? So the process, all we are trying to put into process here is reasonably good practice for public community.
I think yeah. Are we up on time? Because I'd like to rebut.
Yeah, Dave, what I'll do is I'll extend it by a minute or two because Dave, I want to come to you, and then Adam, I see your hand up. So I want to make sure that we get ample time to discuss this. So I'll put 2 more minutes on the timer.
Thank you. So just from the IOE perspective, and Kevin, you do not speak for IOE in this capacity. Let's be clear. Let's keep your TSC hat on. We had always hoped to coordinate with the TSC. We made multiple requests to bring all known suppliers into a room together to discuss work packages out in the open. We never saw a TSC formal committee charter. How is it possible that the general manager of IOE was unaware of this separate plan? So I want to know, who are the active TSC committee members that support your proposal, and why have you blocked supplier coordination over the past 4 or 5 months, developed a competing proposal behind the scenes,
Oh, that's
and yet you say you want suppliers involved and supplier diversity, yet you rejected and never held any open sessions, whether with the TC or in the public, with DREPs, to discuss how you were going to proceed down this path. Thank you.
Dave, Neil, I appreciate the positions you both are in, but we want to make sure that we stick to conversations around the proposals themselves. Neil, I'll give you like 20 seconds to respond, but I really want to get to Adam.
The point is that from November onwards, we were following a process inside Intersect. We had lots of people turned up and have lots of vendor proposals. We took the roadmap, and from that, we generated the list that was going to go public in February. So actually, all the list of all the things that were going to go in were actually agreed and made available to observers as well as the TSC in February. Right. So actually, I'm just coming to this point that that process occurred and is actually minuted in all of our in the minutes of the committee.
Thanks, Neil. And I will encourage folks, as it has also been in chat, please keep the focus to what we're here to discuss today, not so much around past process, but around the proposals themselves. And with that, Adam, I want to make sure we come to you before we wrap up on this specific topic, because there is another seconded topic. So go for it, Adam.
Thank you, Katerina, and everyone else. I just want to say, from my perspective as a member of the board of directors for Intersect, that we recognize that there is some overlap here between the submission by members of the technical steering committee and submission by IOE, which is a member of Intersect, and that we really want to get the feedback of the community of what you all think about it. We recognize I guess I'll say I personally do believe that a lot of things were done in good faith by people on all sides, because of the fact that we had this change in process recently, and so there may have been some confusion of how things were done. But while these things are in conflict in some ways, we want to leave it up to the DREPs to give their opinion so that we know what is going on. So I just want to sort of mention that and make sure that people know that that is an option, that if these members of the TSC who have submitted something want to make that position, that they are doing that under their purview, and that we also recognize that input output has their proposal they put forward.
Thanks so much, Adam. Appreciate those comments. All right, we're going to move right into our next seconded topic because time is precious. So Min, we have your topic on cross-proposal dependencies that has already been seconded. So could you come off mute? I'll put 2 minutes on the timer so you can give us a bit more context.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I just have some questions. Is there any proposal that depends on the outputs of the others? and like all those dependencies, like which single deliverable is the most urgent, and because any slip there are still several downstream projects, and because of that, if we like fund these in the wrong order, we can risk delays the cascading across multiple teams. So I just wonder if there's any shared dependency maps on this. Thank you.
Thanks, Min. So I'm going to put 5 minutes on the timer for folks to respond to Min's question.
Yeah, I think I would just say quickly that row 12 tweaks proposal, IO feels very strongly that that should be supported. They've been longstanding partners, and it's part of how we discuss who might take the lead on certain projects. And so would definitely say that there are some in tweaks that are very important to the overall Cardano roadmap and therefore to IO, as well as the OSC budget proposal. We are very supportive of the paid open source model and really all the work that OSC does to bring more supplier diversity, bring them, train them, kind of help them mature through the process.
Thanks, Dave. Any others around this topic? All right, seeing or hearing none around this topic. Any other discussion topics to be raised by DREPs on these first 10 proposals before we move on to our next batch of 10?
I realize I'm wearing many hats here, but I really feel that this particular topic you mean Charles has pulled out the fact that this is a different way of approaching the solution space and how to do this.
Neil, before you keep going, I just need someone to second your topic.
Oh, sorry.
No worries, no worries. All good. I appreciate the energy around it for sure. So Neil has put a new topic in the chat for other DREPs to consider for discussion. All right, Neil, you've got your second,
Okay,
so I'm going to put
thank you.
2 minutes. Go for it. Go for it.
Thank you. Charles has made it clear that he sees that he has a different potential mental model of how things should be run. And I think that I'm just saying that given that I think the biggest difference between the TSC and the IOE proposal is who ends up being the technical authority, how things are going to get covered, what happens to things that are not being that are being missed out of the maintenance contract, i.e., who's being the technical authority and the systems integrator to ensure that the system is the underlying layer 1 system, because that's all that the TSC supported proposal is about, moves forward. So I think that there's a clear need, I think, from the DREPs to give us a steer as to which approach they'd like to have taken. And all I'm asking is there any, do we feel that this should be added to the voting system? Because you talked at the very beginning, the ability to add decision points. I think this is a decision point that needs to be voted on.
Thanks, Neil. Putting on 5 minutes for discussion on your question.
Can I ask if anyone disagrees? That's it.
Or maybe you've just posed our first existential question of the evening, Neil.
I'm sorry. It is. It's called at 4 a.m, and I've had coffee. It's not existential time. We are.
All right. All right, well then with that, let me see, I'm looking to see if there are any new topics, and if not, then I think, Chris, we may be okay to move on to our next batch of 10 proposals in core.
Yeah, I'm also looking at chat. Okay, the next batch. Ledger Sync, financial data infrastructure for Cardano, asking for 175K. Blockfrost Platform, community budget proposal, asking for 1.3 million. Cardano Stable Index, a diversified on-chain basket for native stablecoins, asking for 2 million ADA. Gerolamo, Cardano node in TypeScript, asking for a little bit shy of 600K ADA. Then we have intentionally not put proposal in the polling tool. This is going to be a separate action. Amaru Treasury withdrawal budget draft, asking for almost 1.6 million USD. We're putting this just for discussion purposes. Leveling the pitch, blockchain solutions for fair and open football careers in Africa, 242K. Transforming governance, Cardano blockchain for professional transparency and accountability, asking for 232K. Cardano DEA Oracle integration, 207K. Incentivized waste sorting and recycling platform, 189K ADA. And Daedalus maintenance and enhancement proposal, 1.1 million ADA. We have put Amaru here for visibility because it's a big proposal. It's going to be affecting the nature change limit, and we feel that it should be part of this for visibility.
Thanks, Chris. And I see Danielle also responded to that in the chat. Thanks for that clarifying question, Merrick. All right, so now we are opening it up for discussion topics on these specific 10 proposals. As usual, DREPs, please feel free to put in started by new topic in the chat, and then your discussion topic to be seconded by other DREPs. So there is a topic that has been proposed by Garrett for DREP's consideration. Just calling those out because the chat keeps evolving, so I want to make sure it doesn't get lost. All right, Garrett, you have gotten a second. So please, if you could come off mute, I'll give you 2 minutes to tell us a little bit more about your question.
Got it. Well, I think that Intersect is a value add, and it could provide for a higher chance of success for any project. And so I want to know which ones are being led by Intersect and which ones are just going to do a different route. I think that's a very important question for me to determine whether I vote yes or no on a project.
Thanks, Garrett. Putting 5 minutes on for response to your question.
Just following Chris's comment, it's just, how do I see which ones are non-intersect and which ones are?
Yeah, so in the new tool, I thought we had a filter for that. I'll go back to the team that built it, but I believe the new tool, we should be able to do so.
You mean in El Ecclesia, excuse me?
Yeah, I remember seeing that in testing, but I'm not seeing it right now, so I'll see if I can get an answer for you.
Thank you very much.
Otherwise, in the meantime, I can add a new column to that spreadsheet, the view version of what you see here on screen, that can just show whether it has Intersect selected as the admin or not.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Danielle. Right. Any other discussion topics for these 10 proposals? Just giving it another 30 seconds or so to see if we get a new topic, and if not, we'll move on to our next 10. All right, seeing no new topics, Chris, I think we're good to move on to the next 10 proposals.
Thank you. We have Scalus, dApps development platform for 657K, complete Web3 developer stack to make Cardano the smart contract layer of Bitcoin, 600K, hardware wallet maintenance, 424K, extended symbolic, 404K, Atlas PAB, native Bitcoin integration layer, a little bit shy of 400K, Ledger app rewrite for 300K, CA Explorer, developer-focused blockchain explorer for Cardano, 266K, MLabs core tool maintenance and enhancement, Plutarch, 243K, extended UPLC converter, 242K, Dolos, sustaining a lightweight Cardano data node, 220K.
Thanks, Chris. Opening up as usual for discussion topics around these 10 proposals. And as usual, please label your topic as new topic so that everyone can identify those to second. And I do see there is a lot of activity around the data list topic, which is totally fine. But I do also want to encourage our DREPs to consider those key questions that we posted around the proposals at hand, just to ensure that we are considering everything that's going under this net change limit, not just the first few proposals that we considered. So we have a new topic from Phil in the chat. Any other DREPs, if they would like to second? All right, Phil, you've got your second, so feel free to come off mute and talk us a little bit through your question.
Yeah, like I've read this proposal and reviewed it a few times. I don't understand concretely what it's providing. A lot of it seems like there's a huge amount of dependencies that aren't even proposed. Like there's a massive amount of work left. And this proposal extends for the Atlas PAB Bitcoin integration layer. Like, we're so far away from being able to even start touching the Bitcoin integration work because there's so much core work that comes before this. And again, this to me doesn't seem like core because both of those proposals rely on things that need to exist, which would be considered core, that there's no proposals for, that are just like active, very early work streams or research streams.
Thanks, Phil. Putting 5 minutes on the timer for any responses to Phil's comments and questions. All right, seeing or hearing no other responses on your topic, Phil, just looking for any other new discussion topics before we move on to the next batch of proposals. I'd like to point out, so Nana did include a new topic just now. It's just getting pushed up by the chat. So would like to draw folks' attention in case anyone would like to second Nana's new topic on hardware wallet maintenance being critical. And we have a second, so Nana, if you could come off mute and just talk to us a little bit about the question you're posing.
Yeah, thank you very much. We all know that hardware wallets are sort of devices that are up for sale. So you buy it before you're able to use it. So I'm wondering, you know, because we are buying, obviously they are generating some form of revenue from the sales that they're making, and you know, to come back to the treasury and asking for the community to support you in terms of being able to manage or maintain this particular activity or business. I'm wondering, do they have any data to show to us to prove that what they are generating in terms of revenue is actually not enough to maintain the system that they are running or the business that they're running? Or I don't know, but I mean, I'm happy to learn if it is an open source project that they are running and it is not generating any form of revenue. And for that matter, it is necessary for the ecosystem to look at funding their maintenance. Thank you.
Thank you, Nana. So I'm putting 5 minutes on the chat for this topic.
Yeah, so just to be clear, I'm not speaking on behalf of these proposers. I did have a great conversation with Vacuum Labs, and when you look at the Ledger connectivity or whatever that tooling is, it's quite old as Ledger hardware, and I'm sure Keystone and others. So other apps on Ledger update as Ledger updates their software. And I think this one was intended to be a public good to make sure that people can use Ledger and Ledger Live and all that connectivity. That's obviously over my head as a non-technical person. So it wasn't intended to be a profitable endeavor.
Yeah, hello, here's Michael. I'm the proposer for this proposal. Thank you, Dave, for stepping in. So we as Vacuum Labs, we don't earn any revenues from hardware wallets. We are just developing the software for hardware wallets for the past, I think it's already like 7 years. Some of the hardware wallets manufacturers, they build their own Cardano firmware or Cardano integration. Some of them don't. In the end, I think it's better for Cardano to manage its own integrations with the main hardware wallets like Ledger and Trezor, because then we have it under our control, and then we can build in functionalities like, for example, stake pool operator support and similar stuff that wouldn't be built if the only decision maker about the functionalities are the hardware wallet manufacturers, because functionalities like this won't simply they are not worth it, because just like a handful of people will be using them. But it's very important for the ecosystem, for example, to have support for stake pool operators on hardware wallets, so stake pool operators can manage the stake pools using hardware wallets and so on. So basically, this proposal aims to improve and maintain the user experience for hardware wallet users, and there is no way how you could basically profit on this.
Thank you so much. Any other comments on this topic? All right, so seeing or hearing none, I'll stop the timer. Give us a few seconds in case any new topics come into chat before we move on to the next 10 proposals. All right, Chris, I think we can go on to the next 10.
Thank you. We have Palace sustaining critical Rust tooling for Cardano, asking for 220K. UTXO RPS sustaining Cardano blockchain integration, 220K. Atlas PAB Aiken and governance integration, asking for 154K. MLabs core tool maintenance and enhancement, Cardano transaction library, 139. Atlas PAB Hydra and L2 integration, Midgard, Midnight, and ZK Fold, 132K. Lucid Evolution maintenance, 130K. Atlas PAB Chainlink Oracle integration, 102. Atlas PAB integration with Masumi AI agent protocol, 102. Blocksbean Java tool maintenance and enhancement, 99K, almost 100. MLabs maintenance and enhancement, Atlas PAB, 83K.
So thank you, Chris. And we already have a new topic in the chat from Philip for consideration for seconds. Just give me a little bit of time in case we get other new topics, as well as I think it's gotten buried underneath some threads, as well as if there are any DREPs that would like to consider Philip's topic as well for seconding. All right, Philip, you have a second. You're also our MVP for raising topics tonight, and I'm loving it. So come off mute and tell us a bit more about your question.
Yeah, again, this is sort of in the same vein of my question in the previous 10 proposals. There's multiple proposals here listed in the category core. Like almost all of these proposals are tooling proposals, which I guess that's a topic for debate, whether we want to consider these things core. The second thing, and this is much more important, is that these proposals rely on things that don't exist. Like the Atlas PAB proposal to introduce Chainlink Oracle integration is integrating this Oracle to a tool to the Atlas PAB, but Cardano itself first needs Chainlink Oracle integration. And there's no proposal for this, and there's no active work stream for this. Yeah.
Thanks for raising, Philip, putting 5 minutes on the timer for responses to Philip's question and comments.
Nobody, may I give like a quick insight into the first part of what Phil taught?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So my name is Alexei Kodakovsky. I'm representing the Scalos proposition, and is indeed development tooling. The reason why we put it into the core category, because we saw it as a part of the 2025 roadmap, and we find ourselves in an interesting solution. So it's a development platform for JVM languages based on Scala. We find ourselves in the situation where we finished Catalyst proposals to build the foundation. So it's just the first step in the development of the vision of our tool. We started the early adoption to verify our hypothesis that it's a valuable tool. And after like 3 months of adoption, we had like very serious traction for this tool. So we have Hydrozoa L2 solution, we have Midgard node potential development. We have 3 text builders wanting to one is already integrated and want to integrate with our solution. So our product gonna have a roadmap in front of us, and our ask is a kind of future development of the platform. But on the same moment, we are finding ourselves in the situation where we need to support our early adopters, and we don't have any resources to do that. So we're starting to fund it ourselves. And we're here to actually engage with extra users, because we will not have an opportunity to support them in their adoption. So we submitted our proposal into core category because it reflects like the tooling development, but also kind of partially covers the maintenance. So maybe you can clarify how we should follow on our tool.
I wasn't clear. I don't have an issue with this. This was just a topic for discussion, the first part.
I got it. I got it. I just wanted to give.
Isn't really what you would consider core.
Okay.
I think to some extent, right, well, 100%, at least in this round, it makes sense for these things to be proposed in the core category because there's no other funding avenue for this stuff. But the more important part, like on the first note, I think we should introduce a secondary category for outside of core for like infrastructure and tooling that isn't directly the core blockchain. But more importantly, it was the second part that a lot of these proposals, not the Scalus one, rely on things that don't currently exist on Cardano. Like all the Bitcoin related proposals, the Bitcoin integration stuff, the Chainlink Oracle one, yeah, the Atlas, the Masumi AI agent protocol, etc. These all have dependencies that just don't exist. And for these things to be built, like what even happens if these proposals get funded and their dependencies don't come to exist?
Thanks for raising, Philip, and for providing further insight, Alexei. Any others on this topic? All right, seeing or hearing none. Just going to give it a few more seconds to invite new topics for these 10 proposals. Okay, Chris, I think we're good to move on to the next 10.
We have MLabs core tool maintenance and enhancement, Cardano Nix, 45K. Again, MLabs CLB 45K, MLabs Ply 45K. Then we have the Midgard optimistic rollups. A lot of chatter before, now here it is. ZK Fold and ZK Rollup 1.1 million ADA. ZK Bridge 700. Developing Hydra Hub, node distribution system 580K. Hydra Hex Core, an automated deployment and management solution for multi-Hydra party 160K. Unboxing 10+% yield, bringing real-world asset to Cardano with Insure token 4.1 million ADA. Regulated private credit RVA products on Cardano 3 million ADA. Starstream next gen VM 2 million ADA. Okay, that's already. Let's keep those three for the last.
That's good. Thanks, Chris. All right, opening up the chat for raising new topics around these specific proposals. And just want to highlight that Danielle has reposted the deck and the access issues should be resolved for those who were trying to access it. Give it a minute or so here to see if we get any new topics. All right, we've got a new topic for consideration from Philip in the chat for all the DREPs, and make sure that second is from a DREP. It is. So Philip, why don't you talk to us a bit about the dependencies on programmable assets?
Yeah, there's been, at least in this batch, there's 2 proposals that depend on programmable assets or that are programmable asset related. But the programmable assets standard is still like mainnet POC. So I just want to ask these teams, like one, as someone who's working on these on this project, the programmable assets project, I haven't interfaced with these teams at all. So yeah, do they intend to reach out and interface with us and to what is the timeline and plan, and what happens if the dependency isn't released within this timeline?
Putting 5 minutes on the clock. Any responses to Phil's question?
Maybe I can answer to that Phil's question.
Go for it.
So last week, I was in Tokyo for running an event called Teams. It's Web3 events, and there, so in this proposal owner, Open Aiden and IOG's programmable asset team member had a meeting, and they have a conversation around, which programmable asset functionally need to be built and potentially be prioritized. So I'm just bringing to the table about the conversation that I'm aware of, and I think the intention is to have a call for some of the proposal owner that leverage programmable asset will be in touch with Jet team from IO to really understand what's available, what needs to be built, and what needs to be prioritized.
Sorry, which proposal are you speaking about right now? The regulated private credit. Is this the Open Eden proposal?
No, I think I mean it's a blanket statement for I think the proposal that use programmable assets.
Yeah. See that? Yeah, that proposal I'm aware of, the Open Eden one, and we we have they have made an effort to reach out and are aware of the dependencies, etc., which means that it's something that can feasibly exist on mainnet because we can provide direct support for it. But specifically these two proposals, we haven't heard anything from them, so I don't know what type of programmability they need, etc.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm also not aware of they are specifically touching on that aspect in their proposal, and I think so there should be a similar approach like Open Eden. Yeah, is probably my remark. Thanks, Philip.
Thanks, Murasaki. Any others around this topic? All right, seeing or hearing none, just gonna give it a few more seconds in chat in case any new topics come in before we move to our last 4 core proposals. All right, seeing none. Chris, I think we're good to move to our last few.
Thank you. So we have Starstream, next gen VM 2 million, Secret 1.6 million ADA, Cash Grab 7 million ADA, and DG for 33 ADA.
Thanks, Chris. All right, any new topics to raise around these last few core proposals? All right, just gonna give it a few more seconds. We've got a new topic from Philip for consideration from other DREPs. I've also got a new topic from Garrett. So I'll go, Philip, I'll come to yours. That's been seconded to talk us a little bit through your question about Starstream.
Yeah, so I've read this proposal. There's a lot of discussion around this proposal. Generally, it's positively received, but I have some concerns, namely that at some points I've heard that the goal is not to coexist with the current VM, it's to sort of replace it and exist as the sole VM of the ledger, which I think is a sort of big mistake because a huge amount of work has been put into making sure that Cardano can have alternate VMs. And in fact, right now, like the different versions of Plutus are essentially different languages entirely. So yeah, I think that it should really go towards coexistence as opposed to just trying to replace it, which introduces a massive burden, development burden and financial burden on the ecosystem because developers who have spent massive amount of times becoming extremely proficient in one VM will need to start from scratch.
Thanks, Philip. Anyone from Starstream that can clarify?
So not from Starstream, but they have asked to speak with us about their proposal. So very happy to talk to them. Philip, I'd agree with you. The system is set up to allow multiple scripting languages. There would need to be some changes to L1 for that to happen. So hopefully they've considered those. That's one of the issues that Neil was raising earlier about system integration.
Thanks for that update, Kevin. Good to know that there's further conversations happening around that proposal. Any other comments on this topic?
I mean, the second thing is there's also items in the core roadmap, et cetera, relating to risk 5, which would be an alternate VM that is being actively pursued by other ecosystems as sort of the gold standard of efficiency. And I think, yeah, it's important that Starstream distinguishes itself from risk 5 in the benefits, et cetera. Yeah, how if these two work streams are to coexist, is there active communication between the different teams working on these different VMs, et cetera? Is there active communication with the Ledger team, et cetera, on what needs to be done to support these alternate VMs? Yeah, and even more generally, like a big concern of mine is just these proposals, everything that we've looked at, and this included, have a lot of dependencies that may or may not come to exist. What is the actual process for dealing with this? Like if the proposal is funded and the dependency isn't met, what is the outcome?
Maybe I'll speak to that a little bit, Philip. And this is just a general thought in terms of the role of administrators, and not speaking on behalf of any single administrator like Intersect, but there is probably some job to be done where the administrator will need to look at the proposals that they've taken on and manage those dependencies somehow. I think also it's a huge improvement possibility for us to do a good job of analyzing the dependencies that are submitted in proposals. So I think that's one of the challenges right now is the data structure of the way the proposals are being presented. It's really difficult to do that analysis, but the proposers have been asked to report any dependencies. So taking a fine-grained view of those dependencies early in the process, I think could be helpful for vendors to coordinate, but then also something that the administrator would help potentially do as part of their role. And that may be sort of a service we expect as an ecosystem from administrators as we move forward. I'm not sure if there is a perfect answer yet, but also I will log that for the Intersect team just to know that this question came up and perhaps it can be addressed on Monday.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great answer. Sorry,
I
go
was going
ahead.
to say, Danielle, I think it goes beyond simply an administrative role. There has to be a technical evaluation of the dependencies, and there may need to be coordination between different parties to allow work to proceed. So this is one of the things that the TSC will be doing for core proposals, of course. But I don't think it's not just an administrative duty, as far as I can tell.
Right, because yeah, you'd need someone to technically assess whether these dependencies exist, or in the capacity that they exist, can they support the application or use case? But my second question, thank you, regarding the Intersect administration stuff, that's very useful. My second question is there strict binary criteria that a dependency already has to exist in production for something? Or is it okay if, the proposal, say the timeline for the proposal is 9 months and the dependency has an expected timeline of 4 months, right? If the proposal is funded, it's relying on the dependency with the expectation that the dependency will be released in 4 months. Is this acceptable?
I'll let the time keep going just so that someone can respond to your question, Phil.
Yeah, so you're raising another very good point, Philip. So again, one of the things that we would expect to coordinate for core proposals via the TSC will be timing issues. So if there's a dependency where some piece of work has to be done in order for some other piece of work to proceed, then the projects need to be coordinated and structured in such a way that that can happen sensibly. And then of course you've got to be aware that there could be knock-ons if the first project is delayed, for example. That might then have a cost implication for the second project. So that needs to be considered as part of any budget.
Thanks so much, Kevin. All right. I saw, Garrett, that you had posed a new topic as a question that got seconded and Daniel responded, but I wanted to double check if you wanted to raise it further or if you got the answer you needed.
Oh, I guess I missed the reply. Danielle, could you just clarify that to me with your voice?
Yeah, what question was it? Because there was a couple I had responded to.
That no insult to the person who put out the or the cash grab, but I haven't really looked into the proposals, but they kind of look like they're erroneous or maybe even spam. So I was just wondering,
Yeah.
if I was going to catastrophize the situation, is it possible to, flood proposals so as to make delegates work, a little more difficult?
Yeah, so my response to that, just from a process perspective, Intersect opened the form to anybody to submit a proposal. There were no filters placed on that, and they have subsequently surfaced all proposals for the ecosystem. This is in part is it's not an administrator's authority at this point to determine which proposals are spam or not. So at least for this cycle, it's been given to the DREPs as something to review. And if you guys think it's spam, then don't suggest it goes into the budget info action. So personally, I also can see, two here that I would have that opinion of perhaps, and a lot of others I would imagine as well. But it's been explicitly left for DREPs to have the authority to decide on proposals with no filtering applied. I do think that what you see from GovTools is largely just honest proposals and not a bunch of spam. But sure, that could be a problem in the future. And that's something also where DREPs could decide they would like to request an administrator or anybody else to potentially do that job. But right now in this process, there was no pre-filtering just to make sure that everybody had a fair chance at things.
Thank you.
And Johnny, I see your hand raised. Is that to comment on Garrett's question?
Yeah.
Go for it.
So I think from my interpretation, this would be a move by Hosky to highlight an issue with the process rather than actually claim that money. Although I'm sure he was kind of 50-50 on whether or not it would pass. So it's a social experiment and a highlight of process issues potentially.
All right. Any other comments on Garrett's question? All right, then, seeing or hearing none, just going to give it a few more seconds to see if any new topics come up around these last few proposals. Okay, so now we have about another 15 minutes-ish or so for this category. So what we'd like to do is now open it back up across the span of all core proposals for any unraised topics that DREPs would like to discuss. Again, we'll put those framing questions in the chat just to, in case you need a little bit of inspiration of how to approach those proposals across core. But yeah, any new unraised topics in this category, please put in chat. Yeah, Tex, I see your hand up. Do you have a question?
Yeah, just a call out to, I believe it was Alexi. There was a thread that went down, and we just wanted to cite that would be you might want to bring that question or that topic back up to the front here if that would like to be discussed.
Okay, so if any DREPs would like to raise that as a new topic and second, by all means, please feel free to do so in chat, along with any other topics across core. Give it another minute or so here. Okay. In that case, seeing no new topics raised for core, never mind, text, all right. So I'll wait to see if we get a second from that. And we did. All right, so Tex or Alexi, if you would like to speak a little bit to that for a couple of minutes, and then we'll open up for discussion.
Do you want me to voice the concern
Yeah.
first so we can discuss? Yeah. So I already started to speak about it in the answer to Philip's question about if we should consider development tooling and development experience a part of technical steering committee, and I think it was Kevin who explained that it's a definition of technical steering committee, right? So I would speak about Scalus as a development platform, and it's the tool that enables GVM languages to be able to build on Cardano. So like 30% of total population of engineers in the world using JVMs, and Cardano is like future financial systems. So, and financial systems are dominated by GVM languages. So we're building this tool. We used Cardano process, which consists of starting bootstrapping the solutions with the catalyst. So we received the funding for this development. We implemented the foundation for foundational tooling for GVM languages. We instead of being delusional about the thing, we started an early adoption to verify if our solution is actually solving a real problem, and we received a really interesting and good traction from the community. I'm just listing once again. We are having Hydrazoa, which is Hydra evolution. We have Midgard node potential development. We have 3 transaction builders lining up to integrate with Scalus. We're starting to receive a feedback in order to improve the tool, but this is not covered by Catalyst so far. So we're looking for support from the ecosystem for us to be able to support our early adopters. and we are not able today offer or engage with the new adopters because we will not be able to support, and there is no economical model behind development tools. We're aiming to improve the productivity and increase time to market in our ecosystem. So it's not very clear how we should think about it, because like the sad reality of this situation is that if we don't have a support, we will say to our early adopters who really want to try and use our solution that we are not able to support them. And I don't understand, it's a frank question. I'm not trying to, I want to understand, like, maybe we made a mistake to not engage the technical steering committee to speak about this solution, because we didn't receive kind of enough of interactions or interest from technical steering committee to actually understand what we are doing right now. So we're trying to push through these conversations and show up this topic because I think it's an important topic. And with Scalus, we also have option, which is Python language. It's kind of same situation. We have other development tools. So maybe you can clarify how we should proceed and what we should say to our early adopters, actually.
Thanks, Dex and Alexei, for posing that topic and putting 5 minutes on the timer for a response.
Yeah, I can say that we feel for you, Alexei. So we can see the gap that's developing from tooling that's been produced on Catalyst, and that may be necessary. The question for the TSC is whether it's deemed to be core or not. So I think the TSC would be open, absolutely open to adopting core technologies, provided the community wanted that to be done. And of course, what the community has to realize is that when you're adopting a tool for support for maintenance, this is a long-term commitment. The maintenance cost is usually many times the initial development cost. So you don't go into one of these commitments lightly. It has to be done with the right spirit in mind. I'm sure you appreciate that as well. We wouldn't want to pick you up and then drop you too quickly. That would be a mistake.
I don't want to understand what it means, because a catalyst is the kind of community way for community to pronounce if we want to proof test this or that hypothesis, right? Our obligation as a catalyst vendor, or like the person who proposed the thing, is to validate, like use the funding that we received from the catalyst to actually build the solution that we promised, but also to verify and validate that the solution is actually valuable, not just deliver to grab the cash. So we are receiving the support from community through Catalyst. It's a kind of community who is speaking about it, right? We're proof testing it. Our proof test showing the traction. So we continue engaging with our early adopters, and we are kind of pronouncing ourselves that actually we are bringing the users and developers in our ecosystems. One thing that I don't understand is that in the roadmap 2025, development experience is still indicated as a serious traction to build on Cardano L1 or L2. We're coming with Alex, my co-founder, from the enterprise setting, and when we are looking into the current kind of development environments, for us it seems not mature enough. It's not industrial enough. Development experience is not enterprise grade solutions. We're expecting banks from financial service sectors come to our ecosystems. We're not offering them the enterprise grade development tooling. So we're indicating this in the roadmap, and when I look at like technical steering committee proposal list, there is no a single like initial proposal. There is no single tool which is addressing development experience. This is a question actually.
Sure.
We're enabling. Yes, sorry.
Right, the list we put together was simply those that have been submitted to us in the November, using the original set of forms, Alexis. So it's not in the list we put together, is simply taken from that and based on the community priorities. It's not intended to be an exhaustive list.
I understand that. I just wanted to emphasize the fact that this is a real problem. We are not caring enough for developers who are working hard to work productively in the ecosystem, and we see it. We are not delivering solutions fast enough. We are not iterating fast enough, both on user facing and also on infrastructure projects. So this is something that should be resolved through improvement of development experience. And I'm speaking like for Scalars, because I know that behind me we have 30 like JVM languages. We have Moneta, for example, USDM. It's built in Kotlin. There is no JVM tooling available. There is a Cardano client Leap available. So I'm speaking about JVM language, but also speaking other languages like Python languages who want to build, and there's early adopters. So this is kind of something where I'm confused because I like with my partner, we're kind of taking this engagement in front of Java developers who want to start building JVM languages, wants to start building. But if we are not able to secure the kind of maintain thing, it means it would be a burden that we are taking as a company. And there is no economical model to monetize this. And I thought that's actually the idea behind Intersect technical committee, like to support the builders. So kind of maybe you can I'm kind of not leaving you without kind of way to answer me. Just like, can you help me understand where we should kind of look for support? Is it Intersect budgeting process, or we should resubmit the same proposal through Catalyst? Because for me, Catalyst was not meant for full product development. It's a bootstrapping tool.
Thanks, Alexi. And I'm just going to acknowledge, I'm going to just
Yes,
extend
I'm
our
really
time
sorry
until... No, it's
Sure.
okay. This is where a lot of energy is. So I'm just going to extend our time for another 2 minutes, because that's when we're cutting off core categories, so we can stay in this discussion. Tex, I see your hand raised, so go for it.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to divert to Johnny if the DRIPs in the room prefer to have this come directly from an OSC representative. But for reference, again, I am the secretary of the Open Source Committee. The reason that I supported this topic being brought back up, I feel this went a couple of different directions. OSC was mentioned and maintenance was mentioned. And I feel as the core group is looking over a lot of the proposals, there's been some confusion on this. If you've looked closely at the open source committee proposal as well as the paid open source model, there is no direct comment or line item that goes associated to maintenance. I think that probably was properly provisioned, so I'm going to drop it from that perspective. But I did want to note on the developer experience side is that is a core focus. I've been working with this group over the last year. We've been focused on developer experience in every part of our conversations from the get-go. So I just want to mention that open source is the place for that. And, having an open source support body is only about 2 or 2.5 years old, unless I'm mistaken, in relativity to how long the core tech stack has been developed. So I do want that to be a good notion that, as we get to now, we're just now getting to a stage where we have a community elected body that is fully at the reins of trying to determine a strategy to properly address the developer experience concerns. So thank you.
Thanks, Tex. Anything else to add in our last few seconds from anyone? All right. Hearing and seeing none, thank you so much, Alexi, for bringing up that really, really, really important question. I think that
thank
was
you,
a
and
really...
I'm sorry to take an
No,
extra
it's
2 minutes.
very, very important topic, and I'm glad you brought it up before our core category was done for the session. So with that, what we are going to do now is transition into a 10-minute break. There was so much energy around core, and we just encourage you all to please bring that same level of energy into our other two categories this evening, which are research and no category that will be coming up. But before we go there, please take a break from your screens for the next 10 minutes, and we will be back. It's 46, but right now it's probably almost close to 47. So let's come back at 57 after. We'll see you then.
The team meets in our room. Thank you. get your eyes off the screen and stretch yourself. Before we go, thank you, Shari, for the exercise. Before we go into the next category, that is research, just a reminder for those folks who came in later, please rename yourself. It's very important today, so we know who's in the room. Only DREPs will be able to issue topics and second topics, and then the Q&A is open for everyone. And we are now going into the research category. Danielle will quickly explain a little bit on the spreadsheet, and then Chris will give us the first proposals to discuss. While folks are getting ready to present, I'm just adding the questions that I'd like DREPs to think about when considering input for the proposal. And with that, Danielle, if I can ask you to just quickly give us an insight on the spreadsheet questions.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of confusion on the sentiment score that's been provided because people are seeing essentially numbers that they don't think reflect the sentiment when they look in GovTool. That's fair. It's a result of the weighting and considering comments plus the voting. So I'm in the process of splitting out the voting sentiment as just the kind of stake that was in there, and the manual review of comment sentiment so that it's just two separate scores and you can more clearly differentiate what that sentiment is telling you. I guess, sorry, I'll just one more clarification on that. In terms of verifying the data behind this and stuff, your best verification is to go to GovTools, see that data, and if you form your own opinion on the sentiment that sits there. But this was an attempt to, in aggregate, provide a view of things. So I recognize that feedback. I think you guys are right that it was confusing the way it's presented. Doing our best to get it fixed for you.
Thank you so much for that clarification, Danielle. And while Chris is pulling up his spreadsheet, I'm going to ask Paula or one of my colleagues to please copy paste the process again regarding how we label new topics. It's been excellent today. Thank you. So much easier to follow your issues. And with that, I'm handing over to Chris. Are you ready?
Hi, everybody. Just to confirm, Danielle, this is now the split.
No, I'm still working on it. I'm doing it first in the view version that everybody else has. So
Okay, cool.
If people follow that spreadsheet link, they'll see it getting split out.
Excellent. Okay, let's start with the research topic. Indigenous DAO toolkit asking for 2.29 million ADA. Input-output research, Cardano Vision Work Program 2025, asking for 26.8 million ADA. Intelligent Contracts, a Cardano Layer 2 toolkit powered by Beneficial AI, asking for 900k ADA. A Global Product Vision Initiative, Cardano 2530, and an African Perspective, asking for 943k ADA. A Holistic Product Research Program, complement to the community proposal, understanding Cardano's users, opportunities and obstacles, asking for 520k ADA. ADA.eco, building Cardano's human interface, asking for 1.9 million. Andamio, Cardano Threat Intelligence, asking for 424,000 ADA. And Cardano 2030 Vision, complement to the community proposal, a features waiving process, 400k ADA. Cardano Product Committee, community-driven 2030 Cardano Vision and 2026 Roadmap Insights collection via workshops and structured product research, 750k ADA. CL Web3 Grants Hub, impact and data-driven analytics for Catalyst, 141k ADA. And to answer Michael's question in chat, Danielle is doing edit on your spreadsheet. We are not in the same file. Could be that's the reason.
Okay, thank you so much, Chris. And before, please bring in your issues, DRAPs. And while you're doing that, just a reminder that this is phase 1 of the reconciliation workshop. We also have the summit next weekend. So if the smaller proposals are not being considered, you still have a chance to be addressed next weekend. And we also have a cross-category conversation tomorrow. So I just wanted to mention that as a reminder. This is phase 1. Please add your issues, DRATs. Is there anything that you think is critical from the proposals mentioned just now and must pass? Are there any concerns that are surfacing? Any overlaps or any specific changes you want to address? I know silence is an awkward space, but I also know it's needed to process thoughts. So just saying that I give you a little bit of silence. Okay, it seems there are no issues, concerns, change requests from DRAPs on these presented proposals. Of course, you always have the chance to put in your issues in the chat. Oh, there's a topic there. Thank you, Philip. And there's a topic, I'm waiting for it to be seconded. If you want this topic to be taken to the discussion floor, it needs to be seconded by another DRAP. All right, we have 2 secondants, so I'm asking to put 2 minutes on the timer for Philip to present his issue.
So it's about the Indigenous DAO toolkit. I'm wondering why the price tag is 2.2 million ADA. I've read the proposal a few times. And this is a higher price tag than, for instance, Midgard, which is like an entire layer 2. So I just don't understand this number. If anyone from the team, etc., is here, that it would be helpful to have some sort of explanation.
Is anyone here from the Indigenous? Yep, there's Joe. Please go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great, cool. I'm not technical, and I'm not. I support the Marto Collective team. My understanding is there's a new primitive that they're looking to design, which is an identity primitive and one that supports collectives, which hasn't been done before. Plus, there is very little other work going on identity, at least through their connections through Identis, which is who the team have been working with. Originally, they're working with the Atala Prison team, and now they're working with the few developers that have moved over to Identis. So they're needing to take on some of the old team that were actually part of the Atala team originally, and they work at the same rates that IOE would pay rather than the rates that this team have been working on. So that I know that's part of the price tag. The other part of the price tag is actually doing the work with to onboard the early adopters. It's a similar question to the guy that was talking before. They're actually working with a whole set of early adopters and setting up those use cases, so there is a lot of hands-on work that's happening in the community. And at the same time, there's also a major project with the UNDP that is going to require identity and collective identity as requirements of that project. So there is a very high requirement for them to be involved with those teams which are offshore and all the rest of it. So it's not just a DAO toolkit. There's more to it than that, but they're able to interact with other people in the Intersect ecosystem very rarely, because nothing used to be scheduled in their time zone. So they take most of the work on for them by themselves. That's my understanding of the team and the work and what they do. They've consistently been top community contributors in the area of identity, and given that identity is called to the Cardano mission, they have a high, a very convicted belief that this is really important in order to solve some of the problems that we've been having, particularly around this area of voting on proposals, etc. So there's lots of uses to the work that they're doing.
Thank you so much, Joe, for that clarification. And I just want to add a comment from Garrett in the chat regarding this. I would also add that the use cases extend beyond New Zealand, e.g. tribal communities across Kenya. Yay.
Indeed, absolutely. Thanks, Garrett. Appreciate it. Not just Kenya. Also, we're talking with Brazil, Canada, Greenland, Iceland. So there are tribal nations all over the world, and they look after 80% of the land that we want to conserve. So there is an enormous nature market, which is the UNTP work that they are engaged in.
All right, thank you. There is a comment from Philip. This proposal should be entirely reframed around the identity primitive and solving the on-chain DAD problem. I am inviting, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for your explanation. That helps justify the price. Seeing that the focus is not really about the DAO tooling, right? It's not a DAO. It's really solving the on-chain identity problem, which is a much more meaningful and difficult problem to tackle. But yeah, DREPs would benefit a lot if the proposal was sort of reframed with that front and center, and that is sort of the core deliverable.
Thank you for the feedback. Appreciate it. It's been challenging to work out how to frame these proposals and the level of technical knowledge and the masses understood DAOs a little bit more, maybe, rather than the nuances of identity. So that's why they took that approach. I don't know whether we can. I can ask the team if they could update it, but I'm not sure. Can we do that now?
Right. Thank you. I think it's important to have these conversations and get this clarity. So thank you, Philip, for emphasizing that. And Joe, thanks for your clarification. Inviting any other issues from DREPs regarding these proposals under research that just been presented and that you see in the list. And if not, there are no other.
Wait, sorry, I think she had a question there for someone at Intersect. I think she asked, are you able to edit proposals still before they go into the governance section, or is this not possible?
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay, if Intersect team is here and can answer that question. Also, Joe has put a question in the chat. That will be helpful.
Yeah, so if you have, as a vendor, requested change to your proposal, please send it to Intersect if they're your administrator to consider that change. Even the polling structure, we will see with the tech team if updates can be made to the actual proposal, but I've been told that it's kind of like the ballot's open, and once they're open, you don't want to change the candidates in a way. So we want to keep that static, and any of those amendments we can put in as a secondary question.
Okay, thank you, Danielle. I hope, Jill, that answers your question to send change requests to Intersect. All right. So who at Intersect, Danielle?
Yeah, give me 1 second and I will send you the email address.
All right, so Danielle is digging out the contact and she will answer you in chat. And with that, I see no more concerns or change requests in the chat from any DREPs. And I would like to ask Chris to present the next batch of pitches proposals in the research category.
Hi, thank you. The following is connecting blockchain to policymakers and businesses, asking for 256K ADA. Echo Chain, asking for 464K ADA. Echo Feed, asking for 155K ADA. Enhancing Project Catalyst through a meal framework and after action review, asking for 215K ADA. Full stack DApp education, 114K ADA. AmLabs research towards tooling for elliptical curves, Gampel-Stilskin, 104K ADA. Option, Python smart contracts for Cardano, asking for a little bit shy than 200K ADA. PyCardano, asking for 314K ADA. Real world investment for treasury growth, asking for 550 ADA. Rewards calculation service for Cardano, asking for 2 million ADA.
Thank you, Chris. Inviting DRETs to the floor. Any issues you want to present or bring to the attention of this forum? Any critical proposals that must pass or any concerns that surface? Any overlaps or change requests that you're seeing? Giving you some, oh, there's a new topic from Philip. Thank you, Philip, for being so active. Really appreciate it. We are waiting for this topic to be seconded to make it to the discussion floor, to keep it fair. So if any DREPs are seeing this, there's a topic, what is the research component in these? I hope we still have DREPs in the room. Just checking. Yes, we have a few DREPs in the room. Okay, thank you for that. And that is a DREP seconded. So please go ahead, Philip, and present your new topic so it can be answered. Thank you.
Yes, specifically, I want to ask about the connecting blockchain to policymakers and businesses. What is the research component of this? This seems like a tangible action item, and I'm not sure it's relevant to this category.
Thanks. 5 minutes to everyone in the room. This is the first proposal mentioned, connecting blockchain to policymakers and businesses. And the question was, what is the research component in these? Is anyone here to be able to answer?
Yeah, likewise, I would apply this to the real world investment for treasury growth proposal.
Okay, thank you. Anyone in the room who can answer Philip?
Unfortunately, no, but I think I have a question for Intersect, and we could take this back to them, but like, provided that the category may be wrong for a particular proposal, and say for this policymaker and business one, if the proposer might want to just move it to the no category, I wonder if that's fine. I would hate to. I haven't, looked at these, so I'm taking no opinion on them. I just wonder if they could be moved to another category, and then if that changes DREP sentiment in any way. I'm just looking at the merits and the substance of the proposal themselves. So maybe that's something we could take back unless anybody else knows on this call. Because I think we faced that quite a bit in the pitches, in the workshops. It was just a comment.
Yeah, it
Thank
doesn't really affect my voting perspective on these proposals, at least now, because there's no like bucket allocated for research. But like in the future, I would expect that, we'll have some general percentage that will say, okay, this percentage is what we want to spend in a year on research. At which point, it becomes important to me that money is indeed being spent on research, and that we are, putting more rigor into the categories. But yeah, I guess given that there is no like budgets allocated to categories currently, then it doesn't really affect my whether I'll vote yes or no.
Okay, great. Thank you, Philip. And I think this has been, as Dave said, a discussion before, so maybe this can be taken down as an action point to take back to Intersect. Any other? Still have a few minutes to answer that question. If there's no more input, it seems like there is no more input from folks in the room to be able to answer this question. Let's take it as a note, as Dave suggested. And since Philip said it's not gonna impact his voting for now, I'd invite others to please bring in more issues regarding those proposals. And since there aren't any more issues, I'm just opening up the floor for all of the proposals in the research category seen on the screen here. Anything that is popping up in your mind, anything that needs to be taken forward, any critical proposals? Keep on bringing your overlap and conflict challenges. If you see any specific change requests. So new topic, right, great. Thank you, Nano. It needs to be seconded. So Nano has a new topic, and please, DREPs in the room, have a check on Nano's topic. I think ID 28 should pass. What can we do to push it through? Great question. Thank you. Wondering if this question is seconded by any other DREP to bring it to the, please, if you want this to be brought to the discussion floor, seconded, Larissa. Okay. All right. We taking this as seconded. We'd like you to bring it up for explanation. Nano, if you can come up for 2 minutes and explain.
Sure, Brita. Thank you very much. I think operating as a DREP from the African region, right? I personally foresee a lot of gaps in terms of Cardano's adoption, Cardano's true adoption. Let me put it that way, and its utilization. And I believe going forward, we need to have to conduct sort of a very pragmatic research to be able to identify clearly how we can integrate Cardano into the African region and also the African region into Cardano. And I think the project, the proposal with ID 28 sort of seems to attack that particular challenge. But I also see a lot of comments and interactions on that particular proposal on the GovTools. But now that I believe we have the team behind it over here. So I'm wondering, as far as there are other DREPs here, maybe we can sort of discuss clearly how we can help make this particular proposal go through. Because currently, as it stands, even looking at the rating at negative 10.9, it seems like it is not really doing well. So I want us to sort of discuss how we can help push it through, and also the team behind that particular proposal, if they need any sort of support, what can we do for them as DREPs to ensure that this is going through. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nano. And now there are 5 minutes to give you answers on your request. Anyone who would add to what Nano just proposed?
Can you just say what the title of that proposal is? I'm having trouble figuring out what ID 28 is.
Nano, what was the title of
So,
that proposal? ID 28.
yeah.
Can you give us the title?
Yeah, so that is a global product vision initiative, Cardano 2025 2030, an African perspective. I'll put it in the chat as well.
Oh, right, that is fantastic. Yeah, please put it in the chat. That would be so much easier. And while you're doing that, I'm asking Mercy to speak up. Mercy?
Yeah. Hi, and thanks for the opportunity. And thank you very much, Nana Safu, for speaking up. Really appreciate that. So, over yesterday and today, what I'm beginning to realize is the strong focus on technical. I think that technical is good. We have been, from a Cardano perspective, we've been doing technical, since the beginning. And even by the choice of our programming language, I know that now things are being sort of made easier for developers. But even by the original choice of programming language, it wasn't something that really brought in a lot of people. And some of the things that, for instance, that product, the global product proposal that we've put in is really, like Nana Safo said, to get to the base of trying to find out, what are the difficulties? Why would a developer want to or not build on Cardano? This is something, from our perspective, even though we are doing some, the work that we're doing is in Africa, this is something that we feel from a people perspective, it has to be done in all regions of the world. When we started to implement Voltaire, we did the SIP 1694 workshops, we established guardrails, we did the parameter settings and so on. When it came to the constitution, we did the workshops, and then we did the convention. These were all people focused. And what happened was that it brought people into a very technical situation. And for us to be able to go forward, it is absolutely imperative that we get together again and we figure out, like, what are even our spending priorities. If we work on a vision, like on a vision, 2030 vision, and we determine that this is where we want to go. I mean, much the same way that IO did. They had that roadmap, very systematic, from Byron to Voltaire. It was a process. It was streamlined. Everything was well structured. We don't have that now. So there is now a lot of confusion when it comes to what kind of net change limit should we set? What should be our spending priorities? Everything just seems, quite interesting to me at this point, to tell the truth. And yeah, we can still, keep talking about technical things that we want to do. But as a community, we really, really need to get to the bottom of how we bring more people in, starting from, using sort of global nuances, going to the ground and figuring out where do we even want to go in 5 years. And yeah, I think I'll end it here in case somebody has anything to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mercy. Giving it a few more seconds to add to Nano's issue before we move on. And it looks like there are no more answers. There's a reaction from Dave and the time is up. And thank you so much. Nana, did you have a really quick follow-up on that one?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I did put in the chat that if I mean, I'm wondering, has the team engaged the input output research team? And also, I see there's a proposal from I don't know from who, but I mean ID29, which is a holistic product research program. So I'm wondering, have they had engagement with these projects to sort of determine any form of collaboration that would help the realization of this particular let me say project or idea?
So that is a great question. And that is actually some of the things that we're looking to see happen during these reconciliation workshops. And you know, as we all know, things have been moving very fast on all sides. So yeah, that is something that we can totally look at. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you so much. And with that, I'm going back to the DREP floor. There is a new topic for that to come up on the floor. It needs to be seconded. And I just want to double confirm with Juan Sierra. Are you a DREP? Can you just confirm you're a DREP? And for your new topic, rewards calculation service, can Emurgo provide a detailed budget breakdown showing why this service costs nearly $1 million? For this to come to the floor, it needs to be seconded, and we just want to confirm you are a DREP. Yes, you are an independent DREP. Okay, there's the topic in the chat. A reminder to please rename yourself with your role to ease the process. And if this topic should be discussed on the floor, please, it needs to be seconded by another DREP. You can see it under timestamp 7:26. I have posted it again to be in the main thread. And if you wanted to come up the floor, please, DREPs, add a green checkmark item. And Mercy, your hand is still up. I believe that's an old signal.
Yes, yes, it is indeed. I don't know what Kevin. I don't know if I need to answer Kevin. Is it the? I think Kevin made a comment about a roadmap being from the beginning. Kevin, are you looking for a response from me? Because that's what I meant. You know, I meant that things were done systematically. You know, with the Byron, you know, sort of Shelley Gogan roadmap. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, yes, that's what I meant. So I was just making a comment in response to that. So what I was basically saying is we knew from the start what the roadmap would be, and that's what's
exactly. Exactly. And what I'm saying is that now that we've entered into a community, you know, like now we are in Voltaire, it's community governance. So what I'm saying is that do we need to allocate serious initial resources to developing sort of a new roadmap, right? And I don't know if you have any response to that, but that is what, you know, I think, because we've come to the end of those stages with water, and now what's next? And we don't seem to have a good framework in terms of what are our priorities, what we want to spend on, you know. And I believe that is why, yeah, a lot of, you know, we're seeing a lot of the things that we're seeing over the past few days and weeks. Thanks.
Thank you, Mercy. I need to cut this short a little bit so we can move on because the next topic has been seconded. Kevin, are you able to comment on this very briefly and maybe continue in the chat with your answer so we can move on to the next topic, please?
Yeah, I was just going to say absolutely agree with Mercy. The product committee is the part of Intersect which is responsible for setting long-term vision. So interact with them to set it. And it's
Right.
very important.
But I guess, like, real quick, responsibility is probably the wrong word. I think, but Intersect can recommend. So Mercy, it was excellent spending time with you in Nairobi and at the convention, and the regional differences are extremely important. And I think product committee actually does have, hopefully a proposal that is regional product workshops. And so maybe it's the price tag here. I haven't read your proposal, but I'm supportive of what you're trying to do.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Encourage you all to keep on your conversation in the chat. Sorry. In regards of time, giving everyone the same chance to speak, I would like to move on and bring Juan's topic to the floor. It's been seconded by Nano. And so Juan, if you could please take 2 minutes, we put the timer up, 2 minutes to present your topic and then followed by 5 minutes. And then we're done with this category. Thank you. Go ahead, Juan. Juan Sierra.
He
Oh.
can't
I'm
talk.
unable to talk.
Oh, you are unable to talk. Oh, you cannot talk. Okay, sorry for that. Do we have anyone who can, maybe we go straight to Q&A. So Juan's question was, rewards calculation service. Can Emurgo provide a detailed budget breakdown showing why the service costs nearly $1 million? I suggest we go straight into Q&A if that's possible, and if anyone is here to be able to answer, please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Rasaki from Imago. Imago is also a DREP, so I think for this instance, I'm just answering from Imago's point of view.
Go ahead.
So yeah, so there's a when we proposed this idea, we were you know, quite good conversation from the community and DREPs. You know, this issue has been resolved by DB-Sync initially, but DB-Sync also have sort of like shortcoming, and Cardano Foundation and in collaboration with community, there's a Yati solution that also work on this solution. So team at Imago is thinking like different way of solving the thing and just proposing this idea. And I think speaking of to answer the question of the budget breakdown, I'm not an engineer, but because Imago is putting this proposal out there, so that is for primarily for developer and testing support, infrastructure, and a Scrum Master who's going to manage the project for the next 1 year, starting from sort of like research to actual implementation. So that's the proposal in a nutshell. I think we are aware of this whole communication and feedback on the Gov tool. And I think we publish our social media post that sort of explain how we view things. But we believe this is entirely DREP's call to include this part of budget infraction or not. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Murasaki, for commenting and answering. We have a few minutes left. If anyone else wants to add to this discussion regarding Juan's topic. Anyone else wanting to add to Juan's topic or having new topics to emerge? We have a few minutes left to finish this and go through this category before we move on to our next category, that is no named category or no category. So question was, rewards calculation service. Kenimo will provide a detailed budget breakdown, and I'm seeing no more input. And with that, we are having another 10-minute break. It's a long discussion today, so I invite you to have a 10-minute break, take your eyes off the screen, and be back for the final stretch, that is core and wrap up. Okay? Are we good?
Just a quick correction. The final one's going to be no category. Sorry, Britta. I think you just mixed that
Once
up
again?
again.
No category, yes. Final one will be no category. Yes, that will be the next category to the no category. Category that is a no category, any pitches that don't really fit into any category. And then as a lookout, there will be a demo of the polling tool afterwards. So please stay tuned. And with that, Danielle has explained the spreadsheet and the sorting before. So I think we can go straight into Chris having to can pull up this sheet and go through the pitches. A reminder for everyone who's left the room and came in, please rename yourself. I can see most of you have renamed yourself. Put your role next to your name, please. If you have challenges, sidebar me or any of my VC colleagues. Thanks. And with that, over to you, Chris.
Thank you. Just a second. I received a new link that's somehow is not visible in another tool. There we are.
Okay, great. Thanks. And afterwards, Kat will follow up with the discussions. Thank you.
There. Okay, so we'll just go through all of these at once. There's 17 of those. This is none of this category. We have Kuber IDA, platform maintenance and developer experience enhancement for 100K. We have Cardano test wallet with private network support for 165K. Open source composable smart contracts audit funding for 250K. Cardano privacy layer 570K. A free native asset CDN for Cardano developers 605K. Crypto inheritance and recovery dApp Gen Wealth almost 400K ADA. Then we have ML Frey Group, tokenized vehicle identities and maintenance logs, guaranteed minimum of 40,000 vehicles up to millions, asking for 1.8 million ADA. Create a space for grassroots communities and small projects to network and support each other, asking for 100K. Green rewards, Cardano for climate action in Africa, asking for 259K. Membership and Community Committee, MCC, Global Community Hubs Expansion Program, 766K. Membership and Community Committee, Global University Education Program, 783. Geospace API, 109K ADA. Open Hydro Education, Multilingual Access for All, 81K ADA. USDX on Cardano, asking for 2 million ADA. Cardano SME Toolkit, asking for 293K ADA. And empowering Cardano SPOs, new revenue through decentralized storage, asking for 533K ADA.
Thanks for that summary, Chris. So we are now going to move into our final round of discussions for this session. As a reminder, please put new topic when you're proposing a new topic so that other D-reps know whether to second it. So I'll give us a couple of minutes here to see if any new topics come to chat. And as a reminder, some framing ideas in case that helps you think of some topics, thinking about what are critical proposals and what are concerns to surface around those to pass, any overlaps or conflicts you want to dive into, or are there any specific changes you'd like to see in a specific proposal? All right, so we have our first topic for no category that has been raised by Philip in the chat for other DREPs to consider seconding. Yuri, I'm going to take your thumbs up as a second, but just as a reminder to please use the green check mark emoji as a way to second so that our team can more easily track the seconds across the board. So before I come to Philip for 2 minutes, also just want to elevate that Chris has also put in a new topic in the chat for DREPs to consider and has been seconded. So I will come to you, Chris, after we go to Philip. So Philip, you're on for a couple minutes.
Yeah, I just want to say this number seems quite high as someone who runs an auditing firm in Cardano and is very familiar with the other typical firms on Cardano and the rates that are pretty established for contract auditing at this point. I just don't see how this budget could be justified. And yeah, if anyone from representing this project can reach out or is here and can just provide some justification for this, that would be beneficial.
Thanks, Philip. Anyone from the project on the call right now? All right, doesn't seem like anyone from that proposal is here, Philip, so we'll just make note of that as an open-ended topic. All right, well then with that, Chris, we're moving straight into your topic, so I'll give you 2 minutes to talk us through your question a bit more.
Hi, so I have read briefly through the MLFRA group proposal, and I'm positively surprised that we have a big name from Europe asking to come to Cardano and build an NFT. I would like to see if there are representatives here, perhaps, to explain on the return of investment, what it means for the Cardano treasury, and would they also roll up with some more stronger brands? I know the MLFRA is highly involved with Mercedes. So that would be an interesting high visibility project. And if such guarantees could be made, then this would be something interesting for the community.
All right, thanks, Chris. I'll put 5 minutes on the timer for people to respond. Anyone from this proposal on this call? Right, it seems like this might be another proposal team that's not on right now, Chris.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll make sure to note that down as well as another open-ended topic for now. And I will continue to give a little bit of space and time for DREPs to raise new topics in the chat around these no category proposals. Give it a few more seconds. All right, I think those may be our only two topics, it seems, for our no category proposals. So with that, I will turn it over to the Intersect team. Danielle, would you like to demo the tool right now, or do you want to open up for broader topics once again for a little bit?
I think we can move into the tool demo, and if anybody has topics that didn't get addressed, feel free to put them in the chat, and then once we're done with the demo, if there are other topics, we can address them then.
Sounds good.
Great. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, so it's not a demo. We drafted this guide with Mad Orchestra and Adam Dean, who built this tool in record time, by the way. So they've been working around the clock. I hope they are asleep for a few hours and will continue to support us. They've squashed so many bugs as they've been raised in these sessions. This document, let me just re-put it in the chat here. Actually, I'll do it after. I think I lost it. We added a Japanese version, so you can click on that link. As you've probably seen from Intersect, Twitter, and also throughout the community, this is the main page to the tool where you can vote, and it's an on-chain tool. We were trying to get it actually running on Hydra heads. It didn't get complete in time, but we actually use this tool on and on to the future because it has some really great features. If you have trouble throughout this, you can go to the Discord or the Telegram channel where people are flagging issues and there's support and squashing bugs, like I mentioned. Any DREPs who were included in the Epoch 553 are eligible to connect their voting wallet DREP ID. You will need to either have, it's better to have a light wallet browser extension for Eternal, Yoroi, Lace, etc., or hardware wallet support as well. Or if you want to use the Cardano signer tool, it's here. This document doesn't go into the instructions for the signer tool, but we can provide those if you need. It's pretty self-explanatory kind of once you get through it. I hope this guide is good. If it's not, please tell us because we want to clarify. Again, here's the tool's website. You would come to the home page. These are pre-production screenshots, so it may look a little different. You connect your wallet. You pick which wallet, or again, using Cardano Signer. And then after you sign that message, it should say wallet connected successfully. And if you are not automatically rerouted to the home or the dashboard, you might see a screen like this. So there's a home button, and you'll see your voter ID here, your DREP ID, and just go home and you'll see, I think maybe just one open ballot at this time. And that'll be a big live green button where all of the proposals have been imported from GovTools. So you should be able to see, do drop downs, and get a lot more information on each. This is probably hard to see. Let me see here. Yeah, so I think one important thing to note, we should probably put it in the guide, is that there's a button here that says list. So if you can toggle between a list or a card view, I think this is actually the card view. You can view the proposal and that will expand it and see all the details underneath it. You can comment on this directly if you would like. And you can see and hover over this or click on it and see how many DREPs have voted, and it gives you some more stats on, I think, total voting stake and calculations. You'll see this vote now button. It's grayed out here, but you can either say yes, no, or abstain to each proposal. This goes over, sorry, what some of the information that is on that view more details page, commenting. And one thing, once you, it's sort of like as you fill out maybe a ballot, but it hasn't been submitted yet. So you can say yes, no to each proposal or abstain, and then it's not saving your selection and actually submitting them yet. So at the top of the screen, after you're done picking your selections, it should say unsubmitted votes. And once you click through that, it will make you again just sign your wallet to record those votes. You won't see your voting results immediately. Those are rolled up about every 10 minutes. So don't freak out. Check back in a little bit. And you're allowed to change your votes as often as you would like. Again, you would just go through the ballot again, mark what you would like, and then resubmit those votes at the top. At the bottom, we just put the help channels again, Discord and Telegram. And so hopefully it's straightforward and people are able to get in there and vote. I think the voting ends, shoot, we should probably put this in the guide. We may end up need to extending it depending on how much engagement we get, but we encourage you to go ahead and select the proposals that you want to vote for and go into the first info action from Intersect. I think Danielle, it's 11 a.m. UTC on the 29th. Is that right?
I think the best place in terms of the times is the tool shows when the time stops and starts for each ballot. So that's the best source of truth. I don't have it memorized actually either, but at a broad scale, there's kind of two polling ballots. I guess they're called ballots in the tool. The first is a final signal from DREPs on which proposals they feel go in or out of the budget info action. And that will end before the workshop on Monday, because on the workshop on Monday, we'll bring into that a data point, which is based on the fresh polling where the DREPs are clearly asked, what is your opinion? Where do we sit? So we can then present in how much ADA are we sitting at in everything that's been approved by DREPs in that poll in this tool. So that may generate new decisions. For example, if two proposals are above the threshold that DREPs deem to be very overlapping and they want to make a choice between the two, that's a new decision and a new round of polls that we put into the voting tool. So it's important to get your votes in before the Monday workshop for helping to reconcile looking across and finalize across all categories.
Yeah, and there's a question.
And then the tool time is supposed to be adjusted to your local browser time. So it should adjust to how your settings are on your own computer.
Great. All right. Is that everything in regards of, yeah, smooth tool? Thanks for your comment. Tex, go ahead.
Only if we're done with the tool.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I just wanted to put it forth, if nobody else can bring it up from Intersect, if there are any other thoughts or questions that may not have been captured in the earlier session. I just want to stick up for us as an organization to give the community and especially the DREPs the best approach for Monday's workshop. If there is anything that we can make sure that we have covered, please let us know, whether that's bringing it up right now verbally or even in the chat.
Okay. So Nana, Intersect elections. Anything regarding tax comment here? Please add that in the chat or raise your hand. Otherwise, Danielle, a quick check-in with you. Do you want to go to finalizing and wrap up and outlook for tomorrow, or?
Yeah, I think that's a wrap. I'm not seeing any new topics in the chat that were surfaced. I do see some feedback there on for Monday. That was appreciated. Thanks.
Yeah, and before we leave the room, please, I'm going to put a survey link that if you have some, it's only 3 questions. What did you like about the workshop? What you think needs improvement? So I'm going to put that in the chat right now. And tomorrow, double thoughts here, 2 facilitators thinking the same. I'm going to delete mine. Kat has already shared it. And then for tomorrow, we're going to have a cross-category discussion, mainly looking into what's coming out from the consolidation so far, and then going into discussions for that cross-category, not like today. And then we have next weekend for the final summit for anything that's not been making it through this round to be discussed next weekend. All right. This workshop today was recorded. The recording will be shared later on. Just give us a few minutes or maybe an hour or 2 to wrap up and send it out to you. All right. And with that, I am calling it a wrap. And I see you tomorrow. At least tomorrow we're all on the same day. So it's going to be Monday, hopefully for most of us in the workshop tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you for staying with us. And for those of you who are in the middle of the night, good night. Most of you may be in front of your night. And for the rest who's on my side of the planet, have a good Sunday and see you soon.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you much, everyone.
Bye. Yeah.
And